Are you stuck in the same old routine at work? Do you find yourself hitting a creative wall, unable to see beyond your current perspective? It's time to break free and unlock the power of fresh perspectives.
David Gouthro, and I'm back with another episode of Discover Fresh Perspectives. And today we're going to discover some from my friend, long-term friend, Linda Edgecombe. Welcome, Linda.
Thanks for letting me be. Well, it took us a couple of times. Life gets busy, as everybody knows, but here we are, mid, just early in the year. Yeah.
Well, and as this is actually a good lead-in because, as you know, things change. And one of the things that you said you were passionate about was transitions and transitioning, which is sort of a big change. But Linda, before we go into diving about transitions, it might be helpful for people to know what you're thinking about transitioning from. So maybe you could just say a little bit about what you do currently, just a little bit about Linda before we dive into transitions.
Yeah. Well, that's a big part of my transition. So I've been, on stages around the globe for over 3 decades now. So long in the tooth. I kind of liked it when I was like a newbie in the speaker world. And now I'm kind of like, I think some of my jokes don't land as well as they used to because why? Because I'm in my 60s and someone who's 20 is going, no clue. What's that? Why is that even funny? Anyway, so yes, I've enjoyed a very phenomenal career, slash hobby, but it's been a career. I mean, I work at it for a long time, and I've said this to all of my colleagues, which you've heard before. I knew the funnier I was on stage, the more bookings I got. So I spent a lot of time early years just honing the craft of how to create a story, which I don't create them; they happen. But I embellish them. I mean, I amp them up a bit, and then how to perform a story. I've had the pleasure of being able to tell those stories for years and years and years. And as I said to someone yesterday, there's not a person on the planet who's ever seen me speak who's ever said, "Oh my gosh, Linda, I remember the 12 steps for reducing stress." No one has ever said that to me. But what they will revert back to me is a story I told 25 years ago. They remember this. They remember the flippant story. Sometimes I don't remember the story. I haven't told it for so long. So that's, to me, the cool part about the business we're in is how stories impact people.
So that's what you've been doing. That's been your focus. And now, when I asked what are you passionate about today, transitioning, kind of your eyes lit up. So what is it about that sparks your passion?
Well, it's truth be told, I had a really tough last year. A lot of stress in our family, meaning in our businesses, not mine so much, but my husband's, which is a big part of who we are. A lot of stress, and I had to keep it under wraps. I couldn't tell anybody. So I really didn't have anybody to talk about it with. So what I do what I do very well, and what I've done very well until this last year is I internalize that stuff because I couldn't talk to anybody about it. And which is a great thing, by the way. I'm not saying this way. You have to ever feel bad for me because I don't. I completely unraveled into a big depression, which I've been there many times in my adult life. So I know when I'm there. In fact, I always say, you don't know how bad you're feeling until you're starting to feel better. When you start to feel better, you go, oh my gosh, I was really in the tank there. Because in the moment, it's just the tank,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that unfolded, and I moved into the fall, and I've been trying for the last year and a half, really struggling with, at 64 now, turning 65 this summer. Do I retire? I don't know. I mean, I freaking love what I do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. And my ego's very attached to it. I'm very aware of that. But my identity of who I am is extremely attached to it. I'm working hard on finding other things that who I am. And that's actually, it's beautiful how that's kind of coming to a bit of a calmness for me versus a panicville that nobody wants me anymore. And so I actually signed up for a course, and it's a coaching course actually on managing life's biggest transitions. And people who are coaches, majority of them that are in the course are all currently coaches. I am not. In fact, I have a real tough time in this course because we have to do practicums. not giving people my opinion.
Oh, yes.
And the other coaches in the room will go, "No, Linda, good question." And I just like, it's almost like it freaking gives me a headache. I can't give a tip or a tool. Honest to God, but so that's a funny for me, but been a great learning experience of, asking better questions,
Mhm.
allowing people to just go there without interrupting them. Like, it's really hard. And, because of course we all have our wisdom within us if you just allow yourself to actually go there and feel. So, I started this course, and what I've realized about transitions. Now, everybody listening to this, if there's anybody, but if anybody who's listening to this, statistically, like we go, some people are born into transitions. But not everybody on the planet is born in, KGH, Kelowna General Hospital, and come out on a beautiful June morning. People are born into conflict. People are, all over the world. So, but as the average adult out there, we all face about 4 to 5 major transitions in our lifetime, mostly in our adult lifetime, 20 over. And most of those transitions will take anywhere from about a year to sometimes 3, 4 years to actually get through, depending on the transition. Loss of a job, loss of a relationship, loss of a loved one, an accident, an injury, an illness. All those things are transitions.
Big ones. Big ones.
Big ones. Big ones. And some of them are forced on us, like collectively the world got COVID. That was a transition that many people have not recovered from yet. So we're not working through the conundrum of what that created for us. And some of us just get totally stuck. And so there's different stages of a transition. There's 3 stages. There's an ending of something that was, which could take a month, 2 years. There's the messy middle, as we call it. I call it being in the weeds. When you're neck deep in the weeds of the holy crap, this is really hard. And then there's a starting of something else. And by the way, you don't just go through those. That's not linear. There's actually nothing linear in our lives. And if I could encourage anybody listening to this, there is because how I started this course, I watched a TED Talk by a fellow by the name of Bruce Feiler, Feiler.
I'll make sure we put that in our program notes. Great.
The Secrets of Mastering Life's Biggest Transitions. And it's such a well-done TED Talk and explains it so well that I just got inspired. And I could tell my own emotions so I went into this course with a bit of a back note, maybe a side of coaching going on here, with an idea, maybe I want to coach, but again, I'm more of a consultant because I really have a tough time asking people permission if I can give them some feedback. So I'm trying to soften the softer side of ears going here. But anyways, and I went in thinking my conundrum was, when do I retire? But that quickly shift to a bit more deep dive into myself. Like, who is this person without this mic in her hand? Like, really, who is this person? So has been like just a beautiful like unfolding for me. And yeah, I mean, it's been incredible. Because I do all the work in the handouts and stuff for myself, whereas all the coaches are doing it as if they're going to coach somebody through these processes.
So, I remember many years ago, I think his name is Keith Bridges, can't remember his first name, but wrote a book called Transitions, like endings, transitions to beginnings and things like that. So, so you said some of these transitions are imposed upon us by the environment, by whatever it is, and others.
California's going through a huge one right now.
Oh, it's terrible. Absolutely. And so many wars around the world and things like that.
Yeah.
But there's also transitions that you initiate. And now in this case, age might have been the trigger to start thinking about it, but there's other things. How do we know when there's an opportunity for a transition that's waiting for us to start taking it?
The truth is, most people won't start or become awake to the fact, I know I need to do something about this, unless it really gets painful.
Okay. So that pain is an indicator.
And that pain or the conflict or life is just it's starting to grumble. And so you're getting signs and you might put them away, but they wait for you. And you get them again, so for me, it was totally a pain tolerance. And I've been really good at it for years, but for some reason, and I really am very grateful, and I don't want to get choked up here. I am really grateful that it slapped me in the face. And there's those of us that want to get some help with helping manage a transition. There's different ways you can help a person manage a transition. So if you're listening to this and you have a friend who's maybe, even if you've lost a pet, who we all know, but I have two of them, love them to death. And if one passes, you're like, whoa, but that's just a dog. You hear all these things, that we all want to get coached, let's say, or encouraged differently. Some people just want to, come on, I got you. You can do this. That's one way. Or you've got a friend that says, okay, you've been talking about this for a while. Let me help you. Let's move you along. A little bit more of an encouragement. And then some people just need to be slapped.
So I'm wondering about the slap thing because, if I were to look at you, you have tons of energy. You're very good at what you do. You love what you do, and you don't have to change.
No.
Like there's no external things to say you have to change. So,
but it is quitting on me. Like attrition is a true thing. Ageism is a real thing, and so is sexism. And so I'm not 30 or 40, nor do I, so equipped in AI. I mean, there's things that I'm going, yeah, I don't think so. I'm not going to get a CRM. I got files. There's some things that I know I'm not going to do. And so I'm I'm just sort of open right now. I really am. I'm in discovery. And to see, I don't know, let's see what else. I'm not going to say no believe me, I got calls coming in still, which is like, thanks the Lord. But I'm not going to grind anymore. I'm not going to go after and dig and dig and dig and feel, because comparison, that's the worst. Like the worst thing I could do is look at some of our beautiful speakers in our association who are rocking it. And I'm going, yeah, Linda, you also did. I rocked it. I just rock it differently with like 80s rock.
Well, so I'm curious about how you move through that transition, and in this case, 65 is one of those numbers. Like my number is going to be 90. That's why I'm going to start thinking about these things. But for others, it's. I've been telling my clients I plan to retire by 2040, so you better sign up now. But there's people that are listening to this that are younger, that don't have that particular number. So do you have any suggestions on how someone might start to think about moving through a transition, and what's helped you move through the transition? Because I know you said a while ago you were stuck, and now you're kind of in motion and taking control of what you're transitioning to. So any hints or tips that might be useful to other folks?
Yeah, I would ask some very open-ended questions that you have to actually think about and be super honest about, that no one's going to see except you unless you want a coach to help you through them. So questions like, so growing up, what were the success scripts you learned? And so if it's a 25-year-old, listen, what were you taught as what's a success script that you're still going after? Was it, work hard, play hard? Was it work hard at all costs? Was it you got to get a degree? At anybody else's expense, you got to grind to the top. If you're getting a pension, stay in that job whether you like it or not. As long as you're getting a pay. So there's a lot of different things. Yeah, for me, it was like if I was good, if I was kind and good, which I was, I'm a kind and good person. Really, most of the time I'm sassy, but I did, so there's success scripts. I want you to think about those. And then I'd want you to think about, so how are they serving you now, or are they still serving you? Then I want you to think about, so what are some of the beliefs, which goes along with the success scripts, let's say, what are the beliefs that you bought into about yourself, about your sex, about your parents, about your friends, about your boyfriends, girlfriends, whoever? What are the belief systems that you're holding that no longer serve you?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to find out, and I usually ask, I've done this on stage a lot. It's just and I propose the question: if you have a really good friend who will tell you the truth, not the brutal truth, but tell you the truth with kindness and respect. Ask them to ask you, or you ask them, how do you see me holding myself back?
Wow. That's that, I think if everyone should have at least one or two people that they can have that kind of a conversation. I just, when you describe that kind of a friend, it just went, wow. And immediately started to think about who would that be for me?
Yeah.
That's very powerful question and a very important relationship.
If you have, and by the way, if you have a good relationship and you have adult children, which I do, and they are amazing, actually, way better communicator than I am. If I asked them that question, they would tell me the truth. Your friends actually may hold back a bit because they don't also want to admit, well, they see you sabotaging yourself. But if they're kind and you really want to hear it, because believe me, I call this leaning into the mirror. If you really want to hear it, it's not easy because it's not all pretty. That's for freaking sure.
So, say that again, that leaning into the mirror. Say a little bit more about that. That's a great image, Linda. I want people to be
Yeah.
able to capture that.
So the work that we have to do, when I said there's 3 stages, the messy middle, that's the work. And in the messy middle, the work, I call that it's time to lean into the mirror. And I literally mean as I'm leaning forward towards my camera. Leaning into the mirror, and I've done this, and I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. I've done it about 3 or 4 times, and now I'm in a big 5th time throughout my career. Why? Because I felt like I was a freaking facade on stage, telling people to get a great life, go create some new stories when I hadn't done shit in years. But I am a good performer. I
Mhm.
know how to make them laugh, and I just had to get real again. So when you lean into the mirror, you have to get really honest with yourself, which is not easy. And there's not one of us on this planet that has it together, by the way. There's not one person on this planet that is like perfect. Doesn't even exist. Perfect doesn't even exist.
You might
Wow.
have moments of it, but it's not a permanent state at all.
No, at all. Not even like seconds. It's what perfect is I call a glimmer
Right.
or a wow. It could be the greatest sunset. You go, wow, that's pretty perfect. Or you hold your grandchild for the first time, or you hold your own
Mhm.
baby. Like things that are just that moment that gives you little shivers. That's it. You know, and, but you have to be able to also recognize when those happen because those things, those glimmers and those, wow moments are literally what help us get through the weeds, which help us get through the messy middle before we swing back into how it was before and you kind of know you have to leave, but you go back into the messy middle and then until you get to the where we have to do something different, the moving on part is, it takes some time. And for me, unwinding this career of mine, I've been thinking about this, as you know, because I set it up in front of our chapter probably, I don't know, 2 years ago, um, and thinking about it a lot over 2 years, and it's just kinda settling in, and that's 2 years of me kinda thinking about it. So I'm not as panicked about it. I mean, truthfully, like I say, I've got a pretty solid ego, and I'm aware of her, um, is that I always said I wanna quit the business before it quits me,
Mm. Mhm.
and so it is quitting me. And it's just changing, and so I'm just gonna change with it. I'm gonna go see, I think if we could all just stop rushing into the waves or fighting against the current and just surf it, it's just that's what flow is. Just surf the tides and all those things, surf it, um, it just allows you to ease into things versus
So
just grind, because all of us want to do things a different way. Some of us are people that, "Oh, I'm gonna go hike. I'm gonna figure me out. I mean, I've done it. I walked across the Camino. I'm gonna figure me out. I didn't figure a thing out. Nothing. Not a goddamn thing while I was out there. Why? Because I was pissed off the whole time.
So, so two things. First of all, I don't know who's listening to this, but when you said chapters, you're referring to the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, that chapter, and that's kind of how we're professional colleagues. But I also want to go back. I kind of took us off on a tangent there when you were talking about the importance of having a friend that would ask you that question. So maybe if we could go back to that because it sounded like there was more about that, and then something else as well. So I just don't want to lose that train we got started on.
So if I would have asked a friend to tell me how they see me holding myself back, I would say many times in this career of mine, I have self-sabotaged on purpose. Well, it's kind of subconsciously, but I've definitely self-sabotaged.
Okay.
Meaning, I've always had this excuse. I only like wearing clothes that are comfortable. So I would be on a giant flippin' stage with, the biggest crowd ever for me, 9,000 people, and just not have the right clothes on to get good video.
Hmm.
Why? Because I have a pushback and going on. So that's part of self-sabotage. Or I wouldn't do enough research knowingly because my ego was so intact that it was too big that I thought, they're people. They'll relate to this content. I'm just literally saying what I know to be true.
Yeah.
Or the night before when we had the reception, I had too much wine. So I don't feel totally crisp-minded, open, fresh, grounded, delivering the next day. And all of those are self-sabotage.
So maybe this is getting...
And someone, if they told me that, it would be so painful for me to hear.
Right.
The reason it's painful is because it's the truth and you know it's the truth. If it was something like you, oh no, because Linda, you have purple hair. I know I don't have purple hair. That means nothing to me.
Yeah.
But when somebody says something to you and it triggers you, that's where the treasure is. All of our triggers are our best treasures. And so instead of just responding to that trigger, we all need to just get a little more curious and just take a second and go, But most of us respond because it's our knee-jerk reaction to being triggered. Either shut down or, we lash out, but just go, why'd that bug me right now? What's going on? That's the magic of getting to know yourself, being able to take a slight step when you get pushed and you know it's the truth. And what does that mean to you? Now, it doesn't mean you're going to face it, but you got to recognize that it's actually the truth.
So I'm kind of stuck on this question of the good friend. So just for another moment on this, and that's so really two questions. You can answer them in either order, or just talk about whatever else you want to talk about. So one is, what hesitation do we have to get over in being willing to ask the person to do that for us? That's one part, and the other part is what kind of place do we need to be in order to be able to hear what they say and accept it and not actually lose a good friend because of our defensive response to answering the question that we asked them to ask us. That's pretty convoluted.
No, it's not. But if you know you're probably going to be defensive if they say something that you already know is the truth, it's even if it's subconsciously, it's the truth, because this is not the first time that this stuff has come up in your life, and you have to be in a certain place of knowing yourself. You don't have to be totally like self-aware, but you have to be in a place of that of knowing of yourself and know that it's going to be uncomfortable, but be willing to be uncomfortable. So that takes a headspace of being willing to be uncomfortable. And is that uncomfortableness, is it better than the crap and the weeds you're in right now? So the crap and the weeds you're in right now, the messy middle part is is painful, but it's the truth. And so it's a journey for all of us. But I'm telling you, as a person who's been talking about this stuff for 30 years, I haven't really lived it until maybe the last 6 months.
So
it's crazy to me, but I'm so grateful.
So what's different this time, Linda?
I think my age and the acceptance of all of my shortcomings. And my age is, I after my grandson was born, he calls me Lala or sometimes Yayi. I have a sign. I'll show you, but not the people are going to hear. They're going to see this that my daughter made for me. Oops, says Lala is love, because I told her. I told everybody in my family. For some reason, I really like who Lala is. For some reason, I know exactly why. Because when I'm Lala, I'm exactly myself, who I've always been. There's no pretense. There's no performance. There's just goofy, fun, I sing songs, I play instruments. I don't even know how to play any instruments. I got a terrible voice. I don't even care. I just really enjoy being Lala.
So you like the person that your grandchild sees you as. That's super. That's
And I
wonderful.
think why, so that's been creeping in over the last 2 years because he's now 2. And so that sort of cracked open a bit more of like, I don't need to be performative all the time. Yeah, I don't need to walk into a room, even though I do have a lot of energy, I always have, but I don't need to walk into a room and finish everybody's sentences anymore, just to make it funnier, because I'm really skilled at that.
So, Linda, you're in this messy part, or a person is in the messy. Well, let's talk about you in the middle of this messy part, and someone, they've got that part possibly because feedback they got from someone else, whatever. So, how do you move through the messy part? Like, how do you not just stay in the messy part? Where to from there?
I would say, so what right now, whenever you're listening to this, I don't care what month you're in or whatever, right now, what is playing in your mind a lot? Okay. And you'll know exactly what right now is what script's going on in your head, what story are you telling yourself, because the stories we tell ourselves is who we become. So you have to really think about what are the stories I keep telling myself that this is my life, when in fact it's probably not the truth. And I'd say, what's the feeling attached to that? Whatever it is. And so we have to know that, and this process of getting through the weeds is probably takes the biggest amount of time for people. But you'll have sparks. Like, so, I say, I want you to know that it is an emotional process. So get over the fact you're going to feel some feels,
Mm-hmm.
and make note of them, even if they're uncomfortable. And if you have anybody who kind of you could even understands, or you feel comfortable. I mean, I don't know. Not everybody has a person that kind of understands this kind of process. We just shove it. Maybe you write about it, but very few people even do that, unless you're a really self-aware person. You've been doing this for a while. I'd have you think about sort of, where do you want to go with this? Like, if you see yourself even, let's say 5, not me. Okay, let's just say a year out. A year out from now, if you could turn a dial, you could turn the switch, how would you like, what kind of conversation would you like to be having with yourself a year from now? I mean, Daniel Pink,
Mm-hmm.
we all know Daniel Pink, has a great also TED Talk on regrets, and how our regrets can actually be so beneficial for us. And that when you think of yourself out a year, 5, 10, and you have a conversation with yourself, the conversation that you all are in 5 years from now, talking to yourself today, the things that you are or not acting on, will you have regrets about those 5 years from now? Now, some
Mm-hmm.
you won't. And if nothing changes, some you will. And just a great podcast, Daniel Pink Regrets. Just Google that. Really, it's not a long listen. It's just really poignant, to give you some insights to that journey.
So whenever I'm in these conversations, I reflect back on myself. How does this relate to me in my world and things like that? And what I'm getting, and the reason I was asking about being stuck in this messy spot in the middle, that, well, first of all, you're there because there's something you're moving from,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there's also, it helps to have something, a picture of something you're going to that makes it worthwhile sticking, going through the messiness.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, just I can handle with this messiness. It doesn't move me anywhere. It's knowing that there's something else, like be able to answer that question that you just asked.
And so when you're in the messy middle, you have to think to yourself, okay, what is my superpower? What is my kryptonite?
Mm-hmm.
My kryptonite has been, I act on something. So I go and do something big, something brave, something daring, something scary. Most of them have been big hikes. Thinking I'm going to, which, it does work. But I heard a great quote from someone last week that says oh shoot, what was the word he's looking for? The zen you're looking for on the top of the mountain is the zen you brought with you in your backpack. Mm-hmm. So it's already within you, but we have to do some big things to have time to probably think through it, and it's got to hurt a little. So some personalities just love that. Take charge, plow through it, go do something big, and see if that gives you a bit more information that can get you out of the messy middle. Some of us want to go back and revisit where we came from. Will I have regrets there? Do I need to finish something I haven't finished? And we start there. And some of us are actually quite okay in the middle, because if you stay in the messy middle, if you stay in the hard stuff, at some crazy level, it's serving you.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So it's serving you so you can tell the same story over and over and over and over and over and bitch about it. Believe me, I'm one of those people. You know, when you've been telling the same story for, like I always say, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 2 decades,
It's a sign.
that's a sign, if you're willing to admit it. If this is just your lot in life, well, and I know all of us, we weren't born to have a lot in life. Yeah. We're born to evolve and do things and create things and have more joy and have more peace and have more calm and have more stillness. So you can recognize the perfection when it hits you in the face. The sunset.
These are the kind of conversations I kind of wish I'd been engaged in 20 or 30 years ago.
Oh, God, me
Right?
too. I spent a lot of money on counselors.
It makes me think of my daughter, who's 24, and she's kind of, I'm not sure if she's aware if she's in the middle or not. So, she's got a mortgage to pay. She's got, recently got married. She's trying to make her way as an artist. And there's, all this messiness. And from my perspective, from her perspective, I'm sure it's fine. But what time do you take the time to pause and be mindful? Or to reflect, like not even just leaning into the mirror, but just knowing that there's a mirror there to lean into. And certainly she's not going to take any advice from me. That I can guarantee. I'm happy to take some from her. But I just wonder about younger people, that how do you get people to see and feel the opportunities so much sooner so they don't have to wait until a life crisis or an age or something
I think
triggers
that
that?
change is happening. I really think that change is happening, because everybody who's our age and in a leadership management position are wondering, why the hell are you not getting your shit together? When in fact, all we've done is come through the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, being miserable and stuff, and now trying to freaking figure it out. So that's probably part of it. It's a mindset. And I really think there's some really good questions that you could ask, probably not you, especially to our children. Believe me, I asked my teacher in my coaching class. I said, is it okay if you ask like your husband some of these questions? She goes, "Oh, that's a dangerous." That's a dangerous place to go. And so what I've been doing, I'll be honest with you. So what I've been doing is I'd write down a few things. He knows I'm in this course. I'd write down a few things. I'd put it on his desk, and I put a little sticky note that says, "Just for your consideration." And I don't ask again. I have no idea. But here's the crazy that's really shifted for my husband and I. And I have, chatted with you a lot of times about my relationship over the years. We're both meditating. Like, who'd have thunk? Me, I'm kind of in the business of self-awareness, but I've never meditated before. And he's meditating. Because why? Because his life, his career, his health, all those things are slapping him hard this last year. And when he can't, and he is a get up, go hard guy, work hard, play hard, drive, success is really important, all those things. He's a guy over the last 3 or 4 months who's highly recognizes that I could give a shit whether I go to work tomorrow. And him saying that, like,
Wow.
So he's working through that. So he's listening to podcasts. All the things I would have never thought in my lifetime, because he's told me for many years, stop workshopping me. So if I read something, like, because I was telling you earlier, I started meditating about, I don't know, a month and a half before Christmas. Once a week, I go to this little studio. It's a yoga studio, but then in one of the rooms we have meditation. The guy who runs it's Bill. He's just so fantastic, and he's funny, and it's just not what I expected. I expect to be so rigid and ritualistic, and it's some of that ritualistic stuff, but there's really no rules. You're not doing great and you're not doing bad. You're just trying to get still and be quiet. Just try and settle in for 20 minutes. That's it. It's only reels. And anyways, and then he sent me these poems. I knew you and I were talking about these poems, and I didn't even really look at them until I took them on holidays just before Christmas. So I said to myself, I wonder how hard it's going to be for me to actually meditate every day. Kevin does meditate every day. He has been meditating every day for probably through. He was in Nepal for the month of November, probably started there.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it is Nepal.
Yeah.
The home of Buddhists. So, he meditates, I meditate. We respect each other's space. We don't meditate together, sometime in the morning. And, one watches the dogs, so they're not barking if you're trying to, whatever. That's all we do. So I just, over Christmas, while I'm in our beautiful little studio condo south of PV, I get up, I pour a cup of coffee, I put the thing in my ears, I listen to a 10 to 15-minute meditation, I journal, just write a few things down, what struck me, and then I read one of these poems. And now he's gathered some of the best poems. Like, I've ran it by a few people, they're going, holy crap, those are the best of the best when it comes to meditation, but also really introspective thinking, getting to the who you really are. And I'm telling you, some of them literally, like it just brought me to my knees. I can't say it any other way. Almost literally brought me to my knees. And one of the lines still, there's been a couple of them that really hit me, like it's the actual truth of myself, is a line, I don't have her here, I'd love to quote her, is a line that says, I'm choosing to tend, because I'm a gardener.
Okay.
I'm choosing to tend to the garden in my heart until my heart grows around it. And I just I'm going, that's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing. And so that is super strong little mantra for me, as you want to call it. That's what I say in my head while I'm being quiet. And, I just, I wouldn't be sitting here talking like this with you, even 6 months ago. I mean, I'd talk about the stuff I know, but not the stuff I really have been doing deeply. And it's changed. It literally does. It's physics. It's research. It changes your physiology. It changes your nervous system. It changes all those things. So that's what quietness and stillness does, and inspiration. And like I said, I'm on a program that I get emails all day long, leads. And for some reason, I'm getting a lot of coaching leads. I'm getting speaking leads, but I'm getting massive amounts of coaching leads. And all of them pretty much say the same thing. I'm looking for someone to help me get motivated. I'm looking for someone to help me deal with stress. I'm looking for some direction. And I'm looking for some spiritual, like they're looking, and they're looking for coaches. So who knew? I mean, I have no idea. I'm not going to click on any of those till I know I'm way better question asker. But I'm just saying that's what I'm noticing, is that it is right now, maybe it's time of year. People want to make some changes, but they're scared to death, so they know they need some help.
So I wish I was sitting with you having a coffee, because this conversation could go on for hours. So, one of the things that I really appreciate, and I hope the listeners do as well, is that your transparency and the fact that they're meeting the la version of Linda.
Yes, you are.
which is
I could pull out my ukulele.
Which is quite wonderful. And I think it's great for people able to experience that. And I would not be surprised if there's not a whole pile of people listening to this that are either have been going through a transition, are going through a transition, wish they would start to go through a transition. So, if this gets people thinking about something that they want to be doing differently, then I think this has been a win all around. So
Awesome.
I would like to thank you so much for being here with us today.
My pleasure. See, if it was 6 months ago, I would get off this call and I'd have a lot of guilt that I said way too much. I don't have that at all.
Oh, well, I cut out the 20 minutes in the middle so people won't experience. I know.
You cut out the messy middle. So good.
Yeah, cut out the messy middle. It's all just a theory. Now, thank you so much. And I wish you all the best of 2025 and carrying on. So David Gouthro here today with Linda Edgecombe. Looking forward to having you join us for another conversation next week.
Subscribe now because on Fresh Perspectives, every episode is an opportunity to explore new horizons and redefine what's achievable.